Hey everybody, Paul Barger here. I'm the bread trucker, and welcome to this video all about the 5 worst things about Stepvans. A lot of people have been asking me so many questions about Stepvans, and I already made the top 5 video about Stepvans, so now it's time to get down to the dirty nitty gritty, the stuff that I hate about Stepvans, the stuff that is inconvenient, the stuff that is not favorable, the stuff that is not going to be a pro when you are considering what van life rig you'd like to build and have on the road. Right now we're inside of my van life Stepvan. Its name is the bread truck. This is a bread delivery truck that was used by the Merida company back in the 90s. It is a 1989 GMC P30 with the Utilimaster body, and this one had a Cummins 4-cylinder turbo diesel swapped into it. As you can see, mine already is built out so that it is a living space back here in the cargo area. I have added a kitchen with cabinets, a sink, a desk area with a dinette, closet, bathroom. Right behind the camera is a full-time queen-size bed that I don't have to convert. It's always a queen-size bed, and that's the way it stays. So this brings me to my number 5 top worst things about Stepvans. My number 5 thing that is the worst thing about Stepvans is that you have to completely build it out. When I got this truck, it was nothing but bare aluminum and some 2x4 framing that the previous owner had put in here. Depending on your situation, that could be a positive, that could be a negative, but a lot of people aren't in the position to build out an entire home on wheels. That was what I wanted to do. I really get a kick out of building things and setting up my rig exactly the way I liked it, but admittedly, it would be a much easier thing to have just bought an RV that was already set up and I could just move straight into it. Now, I moved right into this truck with nothing inside. There was no functioning RV interior at all. I roughed it on the road for at least about a year before I really had anything set up. I just built it on the road as I traveled and kind of did the best I could. It was a fun adventure, but that is going to be a major downside to a lot of people considering what RV, what van life rig to get when you consider you're going to have to build out this entire thing from the bottom up. Right now we're in the driver area of the bread truck, and this takes me to my number 4 worst thing about Stepvans is safety. Safety is a big consideration for a lot of people when they're choosing what kind of vehicle they're going to ride. This vehicle has no safety whatsoever. There's no airbags, there's no crumple zones, there's no any kind of safety that a modern vehicle might have out there. If safety is a big consideration for you, I would definitely recommend looking into something a little bit more modern that has a shoulder harness seatbelt, 3-point harness, a airbag system, anti-lock brakes, and crumple zones. Those things are designed into modern vehicles and makes them so much safer than it would be to have a Stepvan. Now let's talk about the number 3 worst thing about Stepvans. Stepvans aren't your everyday vehicle, and you can't get parts at every little parts depot along the road, such as O'Reilly's and Discount, Advanced Auto Parts, and AutoZone. It is kind of tricky to find parts that you need, especially if you're in a strange place and you don't know a mechanic. It might be a little tricky for you to get your vehicle repaired in case of a breakdown. Now, there is a solution to that, and that is Mill Supply. Mill Supply is a sponsor of this channel, and they have helped me out with parts on several occasions where I've been stuck in a place and I couldn't find the parts locally. They're an online parts depot, and they'll send it out to you as quickly as possible, and they'll get you the parts that you need. They may not carry everything, but they are a great resource to kind of point you in the right direction. Motor mounts were bad in my truck, and it originally came with a gas-powered motor. It was a 350 small block, which had been taken out and replaced with the Cummins 4-cylinder turbo diesel. Now, most places aren't going to have a motor mount for this kind of application, But Mill Supply, I was able to get the motor mount made for this. A very strange part. I've gotten 2 motor mounts, a transmission mount, and got it fixed, and now all my motor mounts are in good shape. Another thing that Mill Supply stocks is all of the seals and rubber that you need to seal your doors and windows on a Stepvan. Those parts would be impossible to find otherwise. They carry all the lights that you need, LED conversions, mirrors. They've offered to get me some mirrors so many times because everybody comments about my rusty mirror over here, but it works fine, and I kind of like having a little bit of rust on my truck. Serviceability is another thing. Not any shop will take one of these in to work on. It's kind of tricky to find a good shop that will work on these. This is a medium duty truck. It's not a heavy duty truck like a big rig, and it's not light duty like a passenger pickup truck. This is in the middle. It will take a certain level of mechanic that's willing to work on one of these trucks. If you look for fleet service, that has been my best luck in finding good service on one of these trucks to work on it. But the price can be super high. The alternative is work on it yourself. I've kind of learned to do a lot of the work on this myself. Just before I went on the road in it this year, I had a major problem with the transmission bell housing on this vehicle. It was all cracked and I had to replace it. That required pulling the entire transmission out and replacing the bell housing, putting in a new clutch, servicing the flywheel. I put a new seal in the motor and a new seal in the transmission, and now it's all fixed up and put back together. That would have cost me thousands of dollars at a medium duty fleet service type of mechanic. But since I did it myself, the entire repair was only $500, and I got a new clutch, new seals, and I'm in great shape. One major issue that I had with this truck is that the lights were terrible. I had several marker lights that were out. The headlights were super dim. They were the old style sealed beam halogen bulbs, and I just switched everything over to LED recently, and I feel so much better driving this thing on the road at night. Also available at Mill Supply. They can help you out replacing your lights and getting you switched over to a good system. Now we're down to the number 2 thing that I hate about Stepvans, is that this is a commercial vehicle. That means that you're subject to a little bit more scrutiny than you would be if you were in an RV. For example, I tried to visit the Hoover Dam in the bread truck, and I wasn't allowed in because they couldn't see inside of my rig. In a regular RV, they allow that sort of thing. Another problem that I've run into is when you cross state lines and you go through weigh stations, they expect these trucks to stop. I'm not using this vehicle commercially, so it's not a commercial vehicle. But they don't know that, and you do run the risk of getting pulled over and checked to see if you are engaged in commerce. If you'd like to see an example, check out this video right here, and it shows you I got pulled over by a DOT officer in Arizona. I've been doing some things to the bread truck that is gonna lower my chances of getting pulled over lately. Before, I used to have a residential door back here, and it was all blocked off and you couldn't see in. I've ripped all that out. Now we have a big window that covers the back of the truck, so it's pretty plain to see that this is an RV. Another thing I've done, like I just said, was I have upgraded all of the lights to LED, so they're much brighter, nicer, and they are all working. All of my LED lights across the top are working, and it looks a little bit more legit. I also have a backup camera that has a DVR that records all of my activity coming out the back of the truck, so I can pull up footage and kind of see what has happened in the past if there is ever a circumstance where I need to. I also added a small little sign, just a handwritten sign on the bumper here that says Bread Trucker on YouTube. People see the sign and they wave to me and stuff while I'm driving, but I think it will also be a deterrent for the police in the future that want to pull me over. It kind of shows what I do. Now we're down to the number 1 thing that I hate about Stepvans, and that is drivability. Driving this beast is a chore. I'm not gonna lie. I put a lot of miles on this. This is my daily driver. I use it to go everywhere I go, and it is tough to drive. I could imagine that a person with a handicap would have a really hard time driving this thing. Mine is a 4-speed manual, so you have to operate a very heavy clutch. It's an old vehicle as well, so I have a little bit of play in my steering wheel. It makes keeping this truck centered in the lane even more of a challenge. Trust me, when I have a cop on my bumper, I'm white knuckle driving the whole time, making sure this thing stays straight going down the road. Another problem is that it is extremely loud. This thing vibrates, and the decibel level is so high on this truck that sometimes headphones you can't even hear. I can't listen to a podcast while driving this truck most of the time because the motor drowns out the sound of the headphones. I've had people recommend putting in a stereo system so I can listen to the stereo. I'd have to put in such a big stereo to overcome the sound of this motor. It wouldn't be worth it to me. It doesn't have air conditioning or heat. A lot of these trucks do, but mine doesn't. I don't have any heat or air conditioning up here, so I just have to deal with the elements as I drive through all these different areas. You know how many times I've been driving through the cold with snow pants on and a snow jacket and a hat and gloves, and I'm still freezing my butt off. But I'm a little extreme and I just make it work. I've put over 36,000 miles on this truck in the 3 years that I've owned it. It's about 12,000 miles a year. I've gone coast to coast from Florida to California and back 3 times now. And even though it is a challenge to drive, I still love the thing. It's like, it's my house. This is my home, and I freaking love it. So I just take it for what it's worth and deal with all the things that I hate. But I wanted to be fair and tell you guys the things that I don't like about Stepvans so that you can make a good decision when you're picking out your rig. Those are the 5 things that I hate about Stepvans. She hates some of those things too. But this has been an awesome home for us, and we really love it. It is super convenient, it's very comfortable, and it makes a better house than it does a truck, but I don't know. I think it's great, and I deal with the bad things about Stepvans with very, I don't know.
You're positive about everything.
Yeah, totally positive. So, we're sitting on our queen-size bed right now at the back of the truck, and we just love this thing. The bread truck is a awesome home.
Sure is.
Right?
Especially with you.
Ting! Thank you to our sponsor, Mill Supply, for sponsoring this video. And if you have any questions about Stepvans or anything along these lines, just put a comment in the description below and I'll be sure to get back to you on those things. I'm no expert, but I do love Stepvans, and I've owned one for 3 years, so I kind of know a little bit about them.
So does Mill Supply.
So does Mill Supply. If you need anything, you can give them a call. But thank you so much for watching this video, guys. We'll see you soon, and take it easy. Bye-bye. Something like that.
Bye.